Hello and welcome to Odds Serie A Matchday 36. So 3 games left in Serie A and a lot of things to be decided. We have Atalanta in the conference final, another time, another Italian team in an European final. We have two teams fighting to avoid relegation or to leave the bottom three. And also, Danny, we have Atalanta-Roma for the Champions League. What a weekend.
There is a lot to be decided on. Okay, 5 teams going into the Champions League next season, but who's going to finish 5th, who's going to finish 6th? Well, maybe they even might be 6th if Atalanta wins the Europa League. It's all very complex, but we celebrate the fact that Fiorentina are in the Conference League final again, and Ancelotti is in the Champions League final again. I don't think that's a surprise anyway. But yes, a lot to play for, especially to avoid the relegation in Serie A.
Scarlet always in my heart, of course. Well, remember, leave your comments. We have a great weekend ahead. Next week, we have the Coppa Italia final. We have the Masters ATP in Roma and WTA. So a lot of things in Italy. Giro d'Italia, Danny, even.
Giro d'Italia, yes.
Yeah, let's move to Italy in spring. It's always good to go to Italy. Guys, remember, leave your comments, press the like, and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. Game on Friday. Strange to see Inter playing on Friday against Frosinone. Also, it's very strange to see Inter losing to Sassuolo. 2 defeats this season, both times against Sassuolo, the penultimate in the standings. Perhaps, Danny, Frosinone think that they have a chance to get at least a point. Frosinone only 2 points away from Udinese, unbeaten in 6. But 5 of them were draws. Yeah, Frosinone, maybe they think they can get a draw here.
Maybe the real title challenger were Sassuolo, who beat Inter 2 times this season, the only team to beat Inter so far. But, you know, it's normal. When you spend more time in the last 2 weeks doing parties and taking selfies and celebrating the Scudetto, as it is right, it's a bit difficult then to switch back on into a difficult game because Sassuolo were fighting for their life. But, yeah, Inter were heavily criticized for the way they approach that game. They look really tired. But I don't think they're going to allow now another slip up, especially against Frosinone, who's also fighting to avoid relegation. Frosinone hopes that finally they can get points against Inter because in the last 5 games in Serie A, in the only 5 games in Serie A, they always lost. But this Frosinone side has now kept 3 consecutive clean sheets, as many as in the previous 32 games. 78% of the league points have arrived at home. So really, they might have a chance here to get at least a point. And they're unbeaten in 6, by the way. It's a club record. 6 of the last 9 for Frosinone ended in a draw. Since March, no other teams in the top 5 in Europe has drawn more games than Frosinone. They're becoming a little bit more careful at the back for sure. They don't go gung-ho. I don't expect Inter to roll over them. And equally, because Inter have already won the league and there are no motivation, I don't expect this to be a high-scoring games. And I'm surprised that the odds for under 3 goals are so high, 202, and that's exactly what I'm going for. It could be a draw, it could be above to score. I don't think Inter are going to exert themselves too much. Under 3 goals, only 3 goals, you get your money back anyway.
Okay, Saturday, 2 good games. Napoli, Bologna. Yes. Napoli trying to get to the 7th spot is going to be very difficult. The season has been very difficult and poor for the reigning champions. Well, not anymore, of course. Drew with Udinese. Great goal, by the way, scored by Osimhen in that game. Bologna, Danny, they have 4 points more than Roma. Is not done, but almost. Also 4 draws in the last 5 games. And Juve and Genoa are next.
They're slow down. They slow down Bologna a little bit. They only score 4 in the last 5. And they come into this game still being not favorites. If you look at the odds, the bookies like Napoli to win. The wins is around 2. Can you trust them, really, Napoli? A team that's only collected 24 points at home, scored 24 goals, less points and less goals scored than newly promoted Frosinone and Cagliari. And it seems to me that Napoli are they're doing a personal collection of horrors, no? And to this collection of horrors, they added last Monday, conceding a goal in stoppage time against Udinese from Isaac Success, first goal of the season. Isaac Success really hasn't scored many goals in Serie A after all. So Napoli, yes, they almost forgot how to win. Only 1 win in the last 9, no clean sheets in the last 14 games. And yes, of course, they beaten Bologna more than any other team in Italy, and they won 8 of the last 9 home games against the Rosso Blue. But I don't think they're going to win this one. Bologna, of course, they slow down, but they still seem in a much better form. Bologna only need 5 points to qualify for the first time ever to the Champions League. The silver lining for Napoli is that they only failed to score in 1 of the last 8 games, and Osimhen is fired up. He contributed to 36% of the team's goal, but probably the unsung hero is Politano. 8 goals, 6 assists so far. Best Italian player in terms of numbers, alongside Scamacca. Bologna have drawn 9 away games, only conceded 10 times in the second half of games. Real Madrid only conceded 9 times in the top 5 Europe leagues. So obviously a team that can manage the games really, really well. Asian handicap plus 0.5. For the visitors, Bologna 183 is a double chance. I don't think they're going to lose.
Great odds. Napoli, they've been so poor at the Maradona this season. They are the 15th home team in the Serie A. 6 wins, 6 draws, 5 defeats. Really bad numbers at home. And on Saturday, we have a very good game also. Milan, Cagliari. Pioli saying goodbye to Milan in few weeks. We learned that Lopetegui is not going to Milan, and they are not ending well. Lopetegui is going to West Ham, yeah, so not to Milan, and they are not ending well. The season for winless games for Milan, Cagliari, they are still in danger, only 3 points away from Udinese, so they have to go to San Siro at least to get a point, Danny.
Yes, they do, although they almost risked to lose against Lecce last weekend at home. They've drawn 3 of the last 4, 12 draws so far for Cagliari. Slowly but steadily, they're going to be saved. It is a team that only won 1 away game so far this season. Cagliari 1-0 at Empoli. It's unlikely they're going to go to San Siro and won it. A crazy ending of the season for Milan, 3-3 against Genoa, where 1 behind, then managed to go 3-2, then conceded an own goal in the end, 3-3. Yes, it's not ending really well. It's a team that, lost a lot of focus. Is in a confused moment. They don't know who the next manager is going to be next season. But Cagliari hasn't won against Milan in San Siro since 1997, 1-0. Roberto Muzzi, if you follow Italian football, you know who I'm talking about. Since then, 17 wins, 2 draws for the Rossoneri, who currently are winless in 4 games. Last February 2023, they reached 5. So it is a very bad run for them. Conceded 5 in the last 2 games at San Siro, because one of them was the derby, and conceded 8 goals in total in the last 4 games. Yes, things are not going really well for Milan. Only Salernitana and Sassuolo have conceded most goals in this period of time. But I think Milan will probably have a reaction here. I don't believe they're going to finish the season so badly. Probably the last 2 home games, Cagliari and Salernitana, might be a win, but it's an end of the season game with a team almost saved. Under 3.25 goals, 173. I mean, if Milan wins it 2-1 or 3-0 even, you still win a half a stake.
Who is the favorite now for the Milan bench, Danny?
We still don't know. That's the thing. There are a lot of names, from Antonio Conte, which is the fans' favorite, to Graham Potter, to De Zerbi, to Marco Rose. It's up in the air. It's really unknown. It might be, they might stay with Pioli.
Well, De Zerbi or Conte would be a good idea, to be honest, to see them back in Italy in the Serie A. Next game, Lazio, Empoli. Lazio, one of the teams changing managers from Sarri to Tudor, and 10 points in the last 12 of the last 12. They want to keep the 7th spot, and Empoli, Danny, only 2 points above Udinese, drew with Frosinone, and away from home, 4 consecutive defeats without scoring a single goal. And we have Empoli Udinese next week, by the way.
Yeah, Empoli Udinese, which is the decider, really. That probably is going to decide who's going to go down. Empoli scoreless in 7 of the last 9 games. Only scored 20 games in total so far. They've been scoreless in 20 games in total in Serie A. Since March, is the team that has failed to score more times in Europe top 5 leagues. I mean, they won an awful lot of games 1-0. Davide Nicola has made them more solid, more compact. But yes, they rely a lot on home form. It's a young team, a little bit naive, concede cheap goals, don't know always how to defend the lead. It's going to be a difficult one, really, against Lazio, who, by the way, they never lost to Empoli at home in 13 games in the history, 9 wins. They only lost 1 game in the last 6 with Tudor, 4 wins. Away at Monza last weekend, they threw away the victory. Probably didn't deserve it, conceded in stoppage time, which sees them now in a no man's land. They cannot no longer reach the 6th place. Probably they won't reach it. Probably they need to settle for Europa League, but I think that's a good target for them, a team that needs to be rebuilt in the summer. 3 clean sheets in the last 6 for Lazio, as many as in the previous 12 games. So there are some sign of improvements. But now Tudor has won the first 3 home games as a new manager, which is not easy to do at Lazio. Only 2 managers in the history of Lazio, Delio Rossi in 2005 and Alfredo Monza in 1958, he managed to win 4 games in a row as a new manager. So again, I think if he managed to win this one, deserves a lot of credit. Again, I can't see Lazio scoring a lot of goals, probably keeping a clean sheet, considering also Provedel is back. Under 275 goals, 173 Asian line, 3 goals in the game, you just win half a stake.
Genoa Sassuolo is the next game. Sassuolo 3 points away from Empoli, but alive thanks to the win that we mentioned before. Against Inter, Genoa drew. In Milan is only 1 defeat in the last 7 games. Genoa, they've been good the whole season. Do you think Sassuolo can get points from Marassi?
Hardly, maybe 1 point, singular. Maybe they could get 1 point because Genoa, definitely the best ones of the 3 newly promoted sides, achieved salvation with ease. Very solid, very organized. Gilardino, a revelation between the young managers. They score back 3 goals back-to-back for the first time since 2015. Last home wins was a 3-0 at Cagliari, then 3 goals at San Siro. They're looking to win 2 games, home games in the spin since November, and in that occasion they kept 2 clean sheets against Salernitana and Verona. So if they manage to win 2-0, they will equal that good record. Sassuolo, apart from beating Inter and beating Juventus and beating Bologna, and beating Fiorentina, can they do it against a small team or a medium-sized teams? The good news for Sassuolo is Loriente is in form. He scored 4 goals since the beginning of April, same as Çalhanoğlu, so it's a mini record for them. But this is a Sassuolo side that has conceded 70 goals this season, only kept 3 clean sheets. I think this is a tricky one to call. Could be a draw, but Genoa to score the first goal is probably the best odds. 182. Genoa normally at home are reliable and are strong.
Also, there could be a draw in Verona. Verona-Torino is the next game. Credit to Verona. They've been down the whole season, but fighting and fighting. They are now 4 points away from bottom 3. You've been telling us the whole season, Danny, that they lost a lot of good players in the last summer, but they are very, very close to stay in Serie A. Last 2 home games were wins, and Torino, mid-table team, drawing a lot of games. 3 out of the last 4, for instance, were draws for Torino.
Yes, Torino draw 9 times 0-0 in Serie A. This is a negative record in Europe top 5 leagues. If they draw another 0-0 game, it's an all-time record in Serie A, which can be a good one if you like the fact that obviously they kept Yes, well, they kept 18 clean sheets, second only to Inter, but they can't score. That's the problem. They lack the cutting edge against Bologna. Again, a lot of half chances, can convert them. Zapata's done all right, 12 goals this season, but what Torino has lacked is the goals from the wingers, from the midfielders, from the players like Vlasic, Lazzaro, Bellanova, Ilic. Yeah, the contribution has not been enough. And Sanabria last season scored 14 goals. I think this season is only a 5 or 6. 9 of the last 13 games between these two sides have ended with a draw. Torino haven't conceded in the first half in 30 out of 35 games. So again, first half draw could be on the card, but Verona have improved a lot recently. In the last 9 games, they will be 6th on the table, 14 points. Only Inter, Milan, Bologna, Roma, and Lazio have done better. Credit to them. They've sold the best players in January, replaced them with young players, the likes of Noslin and Serdar, have adapted really well. But Verona have won 2 wins at home in the last 3, Udinese and Fiorentina. Torino going to be harder to beat for a team Verona that, of course, hasn't won many home games, only 5. Torino have only lost 1 of the last 13 away games at Verona. Huge price for the draw, which could make everyone happy. 315 if you want to be a little bit safer, draw at half time, but I go for the draw, 315.
Well, Verona, Torino, then is going for the draw. Next game is Juve Salernitana. Juve thinking about the Coppa Italia final next week against Atalanta. Last 4 games for them also were draws, but Salernitana, Dani, already in Serie B, so poor this season, only 2 wins, 4 consecutive defeats, so there is no other option, I guess, to back Juve, but as we can expect, the odds are super low, only 1.17 if you are backing Juve.
Because in the Coppa Italia earlier, it finished 6-1, I guess, or 6-0, I forgot. But I mean, Juventus had a heavy win in Coppa Italia early in the season. But Juve have only won 2 games in the last 14 in Serie A. That's an awful record. They drew an awful lot of games, and they slipped down and down since the end of January. But against Milan and Roma, probably deserve to win. Nobody will ever remember that, okay? In the 2 draws. Nobody remembers the performance. Everyone remembers the results. They have better chances than Roma and Milan. They hit the post with Chiesa in the second half against Roma. Had that gone in, I think they would have won 4 consecutive draws for Juve, unbeaten in 5 games, only 4 goals scored in the last 7. But Salernitana are very curious because they won the last game in December, and since then they went 4 defeats, 1 draws, 3 defeats, 1 draw, 3 defeats, 1 draw, now 4 defeats. So you would imagine now there is the draw coming, but this is the worst streak of the season. I think it's gonna be 5 consecutive. They never lost 5 consecutive games, so I think that's where they're gonna lose 5 consecutive games in a row. It is admirable that Salernitana have scored in 3 of the last 5 and even managed to put up a fight against Atalanta. But, they conceded 18 times in the last 4 away games. Now, look at Juve. What was the largest home win in Serie A this season? Against Sassuolo, second from bottom, 3-0. Will they make turnover ahead of the Coppa Italia finals on Wednesday? I don't think so, because they only play 1 game per week. So they don't really need to make too many rotations. Over 3 goals. 185.
6-1 was the result in Coppa Italia, yeah. And Salernitana, they drew in 2 years ago, in 2022. They drew against Juve 2-2. Well,
that was the game with the big VAR controversy. The VAR forgot there were not enough camera. They forgot there was a player, I think Andreva, right next to the corner flag. He was offside, of course. Big polemics.
Well, Danny, next game, Atalanta-Roma, the Champions League. Very, very good game, very important for the Champions League. Remember that 5 teams will play Champions League next season in Italy, or 6 if Atalanta win the Europa League and they finish 6. Right now, Atalanta and Roma level on points. Atalanta 1 game in hand. They won already at the Olimpico this season, and they looked better than Roma at this stage of the season. Both are playing on Thursday in the Europa League semi-finals, and Atalanta really favorites if we check the odds, Danny.
They are, because their home form has been really strong. They collect a lot of points at home. I think it's the second best tally in the last 15 years at home for Atalanta, and only one defeat for Gasperini's men in the last 7 games in Serie A. They've hit form at the right time. Of course, they got the Coppa Italia final on Wednesday. Tonight, the day we're recording, they play against Olympique Marseille, so they might be involved in 2 finals. They played every 3 days for the last 6 or 7 weeks, so a very busy schedule. And against Salernitana, struggled a little bit, to be fair. Probably they expected the game to be a little bit easier, but in the end, changes, substitution from Gasperini, they managed to get the win. They got some players that are in such a great form. Scamacca has scored 4 consecutive Serie A games for the first time in his career. Koen Meiners, 12 goals of the season, 10 goals from open play, the first Dutch player to score so many goals since Ruud Gullit in 1995. Then you go Ademola Lookman, has already got 10 goals so far this season, 3 only in April. Pasalic scoring as well. They got plenty of options. But on the other hand, Roma are not. I mean, they have slowed down. I think they are tired, having had to make up so many points, having had to recover so many points tires you. And now they're having the difficult fixtures: Napoli, Juve, of course, the Europa League with Milan. You can tell a little bit of fatigue, and probably the squad is not as complete, it's not as strong as others. But they got the 4th best attack in Serie A, only 2 goals less scored than Atalanta. Lukaku at the weekend scored his 20 goal in all competitions, second only to Lautaro Martinez in Serie A with 26. The problem with Roma is they never won away against a top side this season. And the only 2 wins against the big teams, Napoli and Lazio, come at home. But Roma are also unbeaten in 7 away games away from home, only failed to score once since January. Atalanta, on the other hand, only failed to score at home twice at the time we're recording, score more than 1 goals in 10 league games played at the Stadio Azzurri d'Italia, Atleti Azzurri d'Italia. The draw suits Atalanta, as we said. Also, they got a better goal defense than Roma, both to score, not necessarily over 2.5 goals, could be 1-1, both to score 177.
It's going to be a pity if we don't see Roma next season in the Champions League, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. They have to win this game in Bergamo. Let's see if Atalanta, they are focusing the knockout tournaments or they have energy for every single game. On Monday, we have 2 games. Lecce, Udinese. Lecce safe. Credit to them. What a season. 8 points in the last 12. Udinese fighting for their lives with Cannavaro on the bench. They got the point in the very last minute against Napoli that you said before, Danny. And next to this game, they have Empoli and Frosinone. So all direct rivals for Udinese until the end of the season.
The fixtures get a little bit easier for Udinese and for Cannavaro because they played Bologna, those 20 minutes remaining, then Roma, Bologna, Napoli. They took 2 points from Bologna and Napoli, so it's a good tally for Udinese, who have drawn 18 times this season. So they might even get to 19-20, which will be amazing. I don't think with these numbers anybody could get saved. But now the next 3 fixtures, Empoli, Frosinone, as you mentioned, now Lecce, Empoli and Frosinone are 2 points ahead of them. Udinese has a great advantage. They play this game on Monday afternoon in Lecce, knowing already the result of Empoli and Frosinone. If Empoli and Frosinone fails to win, or better, if Empoli and Frosinone lose, pick the draw. This is a draw all over. Lecce Udinese is going to end on a draw because Lecce with 1 point, they're mathematically safe if Sassuolo doesn't win. Udinese will be happy with the point, and then playing Empoli and Frosinone is going to be a draw for sure. I will be extremely disappointed if it doesn't end in a draw. Lecce only 1 defeat in 7, but only if those results happen, okay? Only if those 2 results happen. Only 1 defeat in the last 7 for Udinese, for Lecce with Gotti, former Udinese manager. And before with Aversa, they lost 9 in 12. Risk to win, actually, in the second half against Cagliari. Lecce, 5 of the last 7 games for Lecce have been under 2.5 goals. If you have time, go back 7-8 videos ago when Gotti was appointed. I don't like to say I've told you, but I have told you. I said there's going to be a lot of unders now with Gotti. He's different from D'Aversa. He gets his team set up in a different way. And in fact, there have been a lot of under. They only scored 2 goals at home in the last 5 games. Lecce and Udinese, I mean, they simply don't have players who score goals. I mean, yes, there was a moment when Luka was scoring, but now they're without Lovric, without Tuavin. Yes, Success scored the first goal of the season, but yeah, it's unlikely he's going to score again, unless it's like the London buses. They always come 2 or 3 at the same time, and then you wait half an hour. I don't know. I don't see it. Draw. For me, it's a draw. 3:30. But again, remember, only if Empoli and Frosinone don't win, I think the odds for the draw are shorter. 3:30, the draw.
Well, anyway, Udinese, they have to play for the win, no? To leave the bottom 3.
Yeah, but they'll play to avoid losing. They need to avoid losing, because if they lose, they got 0 chance. If they don't lose and they stay 1 point behind, 2 points behind, it's fine. Because again, you got two finals to play.
Well, the last game is Fiorentina-Monza. Nothing to play for in this game. Well, Fiorentina, they are 1 point away from Napoli in the 8th spot, but I guess it will be a party in the Frankie after qualifying for the conference final with the draw in the last minutes of the game in Bruges. Fiorentina, they are not getting great results in Serie A, so Danny, the odds to back Monza somehow are really, really good. It's 6.0 for them to win.
They are. Although Monza are winless in 6 games, which is the worst streak of the season, they scored in 4 of the last 5. They've been playing for nothing, for no objective, at least since mid-February, but they haven't given up. You know, look how they celebrated when they equalized against Lazio in stoppage time. Only 1 defeat in the last 6 games on the road for Monza, whereas Fiorentina hasn't kept a clean sheet at home since January. 8 games. In fact, 7 of the last 8 home games for Fiorentina have ended with both teams to score. They were better than Brugge, deserved to go through, hit the post 3 times. In the end, they even risked to concede 2-1, but that's Vincenzo. I see some comment, people that call Vincenzo Italiano, Vincenzo Iraniano. I saw somebody commented on the Europa League, Conference League. I can keep calling him Vincenzo Iraniano. I mean, no offense to the Iranian people. It's because he almost looks like a fundamentalist of the attacking football. Is attack football or nothing. And in fact, Bruges almost risked to score the 2-1, but they deserve to be in the final of Athens. Let's see who they're going to face, if it's going to be Aston Villa, if it's going to be Olimpia. Cost Fiorentina 6 points behind Lazio. They still have 1 game in hand. Monza could finish as high as 9th. Yes, there is practically nothing at stake. I love the Monza Asian handicap +1, 191. If they lose by 1 goal margin, you get your money back. A draw or a win for Monza, you win a good stake.
Danny, your safe bet?
Verona Torino under 2.5 goals, 161.
I thought you were going to say Lecce Udinese draw.
Only if. I mean, there are too many caveats. But I mean, I think it's yeah.
And the ACCA?
3 selections. Lazio Asian handicap -1, Juventus Asian handicap -2, Atalanta Roma, both teams to score. Total odds 6.98.
Good luck to everyone. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.